Hello, warriors. You know, guys, we're also lions because lions hunt in a pride like our community does. So, can I hear anyone roar? How do you roar when you text? Anyway, just, something interesting here. Moody downgrading all the banks in Europe, all these different countries, to negative from stable. And I recall interviewing Martin Armstrong. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but he was talking about a sovereign debt crisis many years ago. And he sequenced it by saying it starts in Europe, moves on to Asia, and then finally washes upon the shores of the US. So, everyone's looking for things to trigger for anything negative to happen here because that's what happened in '08. But perhaps we should be looking across the pond for something that triggers it. So, how you doing, Brand? Thank you. Yeah,
Hey Dale, this
not
this
great.
stuff started in your country, mate. Don't you fling it across at anyone else.
No, what stuff started?
This bank stuff. And another
Yeah,
point,
the
and while I'm
regionals.
raising
Yeah,
points,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
you know, it's
maybe.
only female lions that hunt, right?
Yeah. Well, ahoy to you, Ryan. Kman, how you doing? Glenn, Andrew,
Hey guys.
Brand. Lions don't say meow. Hiya, Grega.
Hey.
So yesterday, before I left you guys, before I interviewed Michael Kramer, I'd said sell a rip in the Dow up towards this level, and it worked for at least a day trade. Is it going to fail from here, or could we get an ABC back up here? But still, much more negative look still than the S&Ps and NASDAQ. And the 103.80 close in the Dixie was a good sell signal. We'll see what happens. It's good till it's not. 103.80 sell. So market's going to have to at least dollar regain 103.60. So Grega, before I go to Kman and Ryan, you want to tell us about your vacation or about wave counts?
Let's talk about the wave counts because finally markets are moving.
Finally? You mean the currencies?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. It's all yours.
Yep. So I prepared a few charts here. Okay, so firstly, I want to start with the S&P 500. So at the top, we have the S&P 500, and then at the bottom, I have put-call ratio. Actually, I have inverted this scale for better visualization here. So what we are seeing is that despite S&P 500 trading at all-time highs, okay, we are not seeing this calls moving into extreme. So in my opinion, there is still plenty of time and room for this market to continue higher. We are just now in the middle of this current range here when looking at put-call ratio. So I think that there is still plenty of room before we will really move into some extreme overbought conditions. So I think that the stock market will remain bullish. And also, if we consider the US dollar and the US yields, now, firstly, US yields, we have stopped at this resistance that we've been highlighting with our Elliott wave charts here in the past. We are reversing very nicely to the downside. That was resistance that goes even back to this October 2022 high, which was the high of the dollar index as well. Okay, so I think that that's a pretty nice, interesting reversal that obviously could stay in the game here, especially if Fed would really move towards cutting the rates. So I think that there's a plenty of room for more downside. There were some repricing when US dollar rallied here, but obviously maybe the market went too high regarding the US dollar because cuts are on the table and not increase of the rate. So I think that there's a chance the dollar will be obviously will be seen at much lower prices. Also, I want to look at emerging markets as well. Just let me find my ticker here.
Will they outperform US with a weaker dollar?
Yes, I mean, emerging markets are doing very well. Obviously, there can be money outflows in the US if the US yields would really come to the downside. And if you just trying to focus on this clear pattern here, obviously that was a very nice bounce here from 2021-22 lows, sorry. That was an impulse, and then we have seen a correction. So I think that this correction should be fully retraced. There can be a very powerful break to the upside, and obviously this means that dollar could weaken further because of the negative correlation that we have.
What are the main countries in this index? Brazil?
Yes, emerging developing countries, yes, of course, like Brazil, yeah, as you said. So I think that obviously this represents a very, I mean, so far when I was tracking this index in the past, it held quite well negative correlation with the US dollar. So I will try to observe the price action here very closely in the next few weeks. Also, if we take a look maybe now on the dollar itself, finally it came out of this upward channel, then this bearish flag as well. So I think that there is room for more weakness. Of course, today we have the ECB. Maybe that's the risk when maybe things could be a little bit volatile, because we know the dollar index mainly depends on the euro. So for the full perspective, even if let's say that during ECB press we will see euro dollar coming to the downside, which I don't believe it will happen, but even if it does, we should stick with the US yields. If the US yields will keep falling, I think that sooner or later euro dollar will be bought from the lower supports. So if someone wants to avoid maybe euro and ECB risk today, I would stick with the US yields, which are still bearish in my opinion, and I would stick obviously with bullish gold and strong commodity currencies. Now, gold has recently moved here to new all-time highs. We are seeing a very nice, very beautiful, strong, impulsive reaction higher. So after next dips, I think that there's still opportunity on the long side. Very nice first support would obviously be this one that goes back to early December, and then 2120. That's the area that I would be looking for. On the upside, 2200. That's my projection for the near term. Also, maybe since I mentioned earlier dollar, it's worth to keep an eye on crude oil as well. Now, crude oil hasn't been moving much lately. It has a very strong resistance here at $82 per barrel. So I still think that's a correction and that we could see a reversal to the downside. Of course, if that would be the case, it could be also bearish for the US dollar. You can see here below, I have the correlated chart between US dollar and crude oil, and it's a very nice correlation. And so far, if dollar is already weakening and if we see crude oil coming to the downside, it could help bring the inflation lower, and with lower US yields, potentially we could see much more weakness here on the dollar. And finally, maybe dollar yen. It's another story that suggests why dollar could weaken across the board. Of course, we are seeing finally this broken channel here. We are now at some support here around 147. It could potentially cause some short-term rally here if I look at the smaller time frame. Okay, so here I'm tracking an intraday impulse. I think that more weakness here can be in the cards, but I would not be chasing down here. Maybe if someone wants to join this downtrend, I think that rally towards 148, 148.50 could be quite interesting area. I think that this market is bearish as long as we are below 149.20 around so. So above
Grega,
that level, yeah.
Regarding gold, last time you were here, you talked about even if we did make a new high in gold, that you weren't really that bullish on it.
Yeah, I
You
said that I
remember?
would. Yeah, I said that I would most likely pay more attention to silver. Yeah, I remember.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the longer term here on maybe on gold, it's still let me just that's the primary
So
color.
it'll be completing something up there at 2200.
Yeah, I'm thinking that this could be this wedge line resistance. So we'll see what happens up here. Decision is yet to come. It's not
Yeah.
happening yet. So I think that at least in the short term, after pullbacks, obviously I have to respect what the market is doing and just be aware of more upside towards these mentioned levels here. So we will see what happens there. If we break very strongly to the upside, of course, I will adjust my views and observe some new targets. But definitely,
good morning, guys. I just want to let you know the ECB, we're expecting the ECB statement and
in 5
decision
minutes.
out in just about 5 minutes. And good
Yeah.
morning, Grega. Good morning,
Yeah,
Dale.
good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm keeping eye on time, no problem. So that's for dollar yen. As I said earlier, I just think that maybe with bearish US yields, dollar yen could potentially obviously move even lower after this rally. So I will pay very close attention to this one. But of course, not really sure if I want to pull the trigger ahead of non-farm payrolls report, which would be another important indication for the Fed to move.
Okay.
That's
That
it.
looks okay.
Shall
Like you want to
we
take,
talk about Bitcoin? I'm joking.
yeah.
No, I'm joking. This will be for next time.
Okay. You don't want to spoil us.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Kman is around, so.
Okay. Kman, Ryan's around.
I don't know
Right.
anything about Bitcoin. Good morning, all.
Yeah.
Good morning, Kman. Good morning, Ryan. Good patience,
mate.
Ryan, on holding euro. And
Yeah, getting there.
yeah, and Kman, this look decisive to you in US dollar yen before Blake takes over?
Well, at
I'll
least
pull
for
up the
now,
chart.
it is. Everything points in the direction of the wage stocks doing well and the Bank of Japan getting ready. Now, it increases it increases the possibility of a March move. Also after the comments of the Bank of Japan members. But is it becoming a base case? That's still the question. We are edging higher in the likelihood of a March move. But will they do it before the end of the fiscal year is still the question. It is so that yesterday we were saying like to sell yen pairs on rallies. We didn't get the rally anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so his name is Nakagawa. All of his comments were really hawkish, eh?
Her. But yes, it was a hawkish change of tone. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, real quick, guys, we got ECB just their rate decision. Now, obviously, the press conference is going to be a big mover. And good morning, Ryan. Good morning, Kman. We're about a couple minutes. What should we be expecting here, Ryan?
Nothing. The only slight expectations, possibly if they tinker around with this narrowing of the rate corridor, they want to sort banks out, QT, anything like that, but nothing from the decision. And we get the forecasts later, which will probably be the bigger mover in the whole thing when they get the updated forecast, see what they do with inflation. Has been rumoured that they're going to cut inflation for this year and potentially next year.
Hey, man, you have any thoughts here before the ECB does release their statement?
Relatively similar. We may have expected some final decisions on the APP, PEPP, but we already had the framework. So I'm not expecting a lot, but the press conference, as usual, will be the one where we may hear from a dovish change or keeping the line. But I think basically she will continue to steer the course for now. Too early to change. That's the base case anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing about I was having this conversation with Chris Weston yesterday, and European yields look, so much firmer than U.S. yields right now. That's been the big driver of the euro dollar. Oh, here we go. Let me get over to the headlines here. So euro is
unchanged. Unchanged the rates.
Yeah, no reaction thus far.
Revised the inflation just 0.1 lower for 2025, I see.
And euro is slipping just a little bit on that.
Rate level must be maintained for a sufficiently long time.
And here comes the euro under some pressure. So we are starting to see the euro a little bit of a pullback here. Dollar is starting to firm up.
2024 inflation dropped quite a bit from 2.7 to 2.3, according to that. 2025, 2% versus 2.1, so right on the ECB's target. Maybe sounding a little dovish in those forecasts, bringing that 2024 down closer to the target number.
And I would say that triangle just basically completed just move out of the triangle. So if you were, just be careful chasing it on the short side here, because you got pretty much everything you're going to get out of it. But that doesn't mean we can't get another move following the press conference. So let's see what Christine Lagarde has to say. She will be taking the mic in about 30 minutes from now. It should be at 6:45. It's 9:45 Eastern, or no, 8:45 Eastern. Geez, there's a time change this weekend, guys. Just so you know, we're going to be going through that whole thing where we'll change our time, I think 2 weeks before you guys, right? Is that correct? I don't know. I never even change my clocks. You guys are all the other people that change your clocks. I don't ever have to change my time. So anyway, just a little heads up. Dale, what do you make of this? We'll come back to the euro. We'll see if there's going to be continued action here in the euro. What do you make of the stock market right now?
Dow's my preferred short. Yesterday I said sell the rally back towards that breakdown. It worked for about 400, and I keep that level in mind. So I'm just looking for a correction. Maybe the S&P's trade 5,000, 4,900, and then try and make another move. But the Dow is a weakness, so you could see how my line's a little bit different, and it hits that last low, but it went right there and checked it, and looks like that's a pretty important level that it held. What's this, a daily? 4 hour, okay. Yeah, so under the lows from yesterday, it opens the door. I'm not looking for a crash, but I'm looking for where you have the, where the wedge is anchored. That's 37,000. So that's a target, 100% retrace of the wedge.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see if we'll see what the Dow does.
Crazy.
Huh?
Remember that. I could be crazy.
Well, I mean, look, so I believe this is the line in the sand right here in the stock market for the broad market. And it's hard to be short while we're above that. But hey, whatever.
Hey, like Kramer says, there's always a bull market somewhere. There's always a bear market somewhere.
That's
even
right.
in the stock market. So look at Apple.
Right. All right. Very good. Ryan, how about you? What are you thinking right now? As we are dealing with a little bit of euro weakness going into the ECB here, but overall, how are you feeling about where we're at in the markets? What are you looking at? The dollar yen obviously is sold off. It's taking some yen pairs down with it. But is there anything else that you're really looking at here?
No, I'm mainly keeping an eye on this euro dollar. It knocked up right against that fib that we've been pointing out for long enough. So that keeps it within the ranges.
You're the one that yesterday pushed us up to 109. the 50% retracement here, saying
Yeah,
that this
two
could be
pips short.
resistance.
2 pips
And
short of that. It was at 17. So yeah, what happens with the ECB now is going to be important. You know, we've had this little bit of news with the forecasts. Is the guard going to keep it down? If it doesn't, if the market's just a bit nervy ahead of the ECB risk, then afterwards we could see it taking out that high if the dollar sell-off continues, which it's looking like it is in dollar yen at the moment anyway.
yeah, and let's not forget, guys, that we have non-farm payroll tomorrow. It's that's going to be probably the big event of the week. I'm assuming it's going to be the one that really pushes the dollar one direction or another. But yeah, you're keeping an eye on this euro. Great call, you know, as the euro was coming up to the 50% retracement. I wasn't sure if it was going to reach all the way up there, but it did within like you said, a couple of pips, and that was great. Kman, what are your thoughts here? Looking around at the market, dollar yen looks pretty weak. Yen looks firm. I mean, do you believe that the BOJ is going to be able to move in a week and a half? Is it a week and a half?
Well, that's 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Oh, well, yeah, a week and a half. It's still the question. I mean, as I said, the percentage of is going up. As we know, the biggest Japanese bank, MUFG, is actually expecting them to move in March. So there will be speculation going into the meeting, and especially next week, those wage talks. If we get confirmation of really the hikes that they've been talking about, those various unions and stuff, it should be party time for the yen. Yeah, I think there's going to be more speculation, and rallies in yen pairs are going to find sellers and going into the meeting and into next week. That's a fact.
Yeah, I
Hey,
mean,
Blake,
look at this euro yen. What a
you have a
rollover.
feel for the commodity currencies? You know, I thought I was going to be able to buy Aussie at 64.
I bought it yesterday.
And Canada, you bought them yesterday?
I bought the
Nice.
Aussie yesterday. Yeah, I was
He
always
bought it
looking at
right
that.
around here. Kman picked up
Yeah.
Aussie
Nice.
right around here.
Yeah.
So,
What are your targets?
Well, I took half off here because there's a bit of a resistance zone here. I took half off, and now I'm going to run the rest into tomorrow NFPs. I think maybe if we get another push up to 65.5 or so, I'm going to take another bit piece off just to bank stuff and reduce the risk a little bit, and then we'll see about the US jobs report. There's a couple of reasons why as well, because yesterday those jolts, they came in like sort of expected and stuff, but there's been a bit about going on about those quits ratio coming off very hard actually to the lowest level in 3 or 4 years, which would be a bit disinflationary, and I think especially the antipodians and cable, they've benefited from it as well. This together with the rejection that we had in those US yields, that is potentially weighing on some stuff in dollar-wise. So that's an extra push probably for the dollar yen, but it looks quite a bit better for those commodity currencies and the cable, especially those, you know, looking okay for those. I'm gonna hold the rest for as long as that break holds, you know, and then we'll see.
yeah, good pickup yesterday, Kman. And if you guys don't know where you can see all of this, is just make sure you get on in the ForexAnalytix trades room. I watched Kman pick up the Aussie yesterday, and I was like, huh. And then you know, a lot of people are in here, you know, putting out their trades, and this is where all the magic happens, guys. You can find it in the ForexAnalytix community. All right. Real quick, I know we got Grega here, so I'm gonna leverage this a little bit. Grega, you mentioned it, so we're gonna talk about it. Are you still here, by the way? All right, buddy. Bitcoin, how do you feel? And I'm gonna pull up your counts here. So, what are you thinking here?
Well, I think that we will see more upside, but there will be volatile price action around current highs, that there can be some alt season going on, so maybe some other altcoins could be much better, could offer much better opportunities than Bitcoin. But keep in mind that there, if I'm not wrong, there are around 900 Bitcoins created each day. But since we have the ETFs approved this January, I think that ETFs accumulating roughly 10,000 per day. And we have halving in April, means that in April, there will be only 450 Bitcoins created per day, but demand will stay the same, right? So I think that Bitcoin could actually stay in the recovery mode after any retracement.
So what do you think that eventually we're gonna scale above this 70,000 and we're gonna trade up here? Do you think these counts are valid?
Yeah, I think that we can breach 70,000 easily.
So
in the next
okay, so where would you be a buyer with Bitcoin?
I would be a buyer around 60,000 on a pullback.
Okay, and I think that's generous to say we can reach 50,000. I mean, I'm
60.
hoping, fingers crossed, that we even see at this stage. And I'm not talking long term. I mean, I'm just talking near term. I think it'd be really fortunate if we saw back down to 53,000. But do you think we could make it all the way back?
No, I'm looking at 60, not 50.
Oh, okay. I thought you said 50. All right, 60,000. Okay,
yeah,
so
that spike right there.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. So it's somewhere down here. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And, so if we can see it, you'd be looking for longs.
Yeah, I think that there can be a very nice opportunity on the long side still to join this uptrend. But of course, as I said, you have to be very patient here on these levels because there will be volatile price action, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
All
by
right.
these dips, 10-15% makes sense.
Got it. And I can see exactly what you're looking at here on the 4-hour chart. And if you guys don't know this, we have 30 different instruments, and Grega's Elliott wave counts are provided in the Elliott wave section of ForexAnalytix. He's been with us since really the inception of ForexAnalytix. So Greg, I appreciate your thoughts here.
Always updates. You're always you get fresh stuff from him real frequently.
Oh yeah, every single day, and it's a great way to, especially, I like Elliott wave counts because it I don't want to say it counters what I do, because it doesn't. That's not necessarily true, because I like to trade with the trend, but a lot of times I like to fade moves if I think they're a little overbought or oversold. But the Elliott wave count will really tell me if there's a pivot coming up in the market that I should be paying attention to. That's why I love to go back and reference not only his work, obviously Andre's work when you're looking at, harmonic patterns and whatnot too. So a lot of information here. So thank you, Grega. All right, we've got 3 minutes before weekly unemployment claims. So let me go ahead and get prepared for that really fast. Ryan, last minute thoughts as we go into unemployment claims here, or the rest of the day rather.
Just hear what Lagarde's got to say about things. I've got a suspicion, just a gut feeling more than anything, that if the dollar remains strong and euro looks a little bit suppressed, euro dollar looks a little bit suppressed while everything else is strengthening versus the dollar, it might just be waiting to get over Lagarde before it then starts making a move higher again. So be careful if you're short, I would advise.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are leaning into this euro right now, and it's like, I don't know. I'd be a little careful here too. I agree with you. Kman, last minute thoughts before the data comes out.
No, not really. Still the same. I think there's a few currencies doing better. Cable 127.25, 127.20. Keep an eye on that one. If we see a little move back down there, see if it holds or not. Otherwise, I think that one could start to push into the 128s at one stage. But no, for the rest, I'm keeping what I have in the rest. I mean, no.
Got it. Okay, thank you very much. And guys, also want to just say we are about 30 seconds away from data, so let me pull this back, and here's the data flash. Greg, I want to say thanks for being here. And Dale, you're bringing in today one of my favorite people that you interview, Fabi. She's going to talk, I'm sure, about some precious metals, doesn't she? And a lot of energy too.
Well, she's one of your favorites. You should know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, she's great. So make sure you guys are sticking around here for the interview that's upcoming right after this data comes out. So here we go. Trade balance comes in a little worse than expected. Where's our jobless claims? I don't see them yet. Do you guys see them? Ooh. Yeah. I mean, initial jobless claims. I mean, I guess the revision's a little lower, but I mean, it's not a lot. I wouldn't get too excited about the market here. I guess we're just gonna have to wait for the ECB to get some better guidance in the markets right now. And let's not forget, guys, stocks are very strong. S&P is at 5128 right now. We are only about 25 points away from all-time highs. So markets continue to be very strong. It's a hard sell, you know, to be on the short side. So you guys be real careful out there. Grega, I want to thank you for joining us today. Ryan, Kman, as always, thanks for getting us up to speed. Remember, if you guys are in European trade, you trade during the European hours, make sure you are listening for you know, these guys on the Flow Show. And one last thing I need to mention, March 20th, that is a week and a half from right now, we have very exciting news that we're going to be announcing right here on the F.A.C.E show. Make sure you guys are just here on the show like you normally are. On March 20th, we have a huge announcement for the ForexAnalytix community. And Dale, I'm going to pass it over to you. Have a great interview with Fabi.
Okay. Is it spring? Are you going to be announcing the beginning of spring?
Yes.
That's it.
Easter Bunny's coming.
Okay, good. All right. Hiya, Fabi. How are you? Trying to get you to unmute here.
Hey, I'm trying to get myself to mute as well.
There you are. There you are.
I'm doing
How are you, you little
well.
metalhead, you? So
yeah, I am happy. Look, I have just kind of great news all around. I've been really lucky. You know, I'm not usually this good at getting my calls right, but I think this has been a good run for me. And so I'm happy to take victory laps whenever I come back to your show. Or maybe you've been bringing me luck. I don't know.
oh well, either is good. So the victory laps, ringing the register on uranium. It's had a pullback here.
Yes.
And are they rotating into the gold and silver miners with profits from that?
Very likely. So let me see if I can share my screen here because I have a few charts to show. Let me share that. Okay, so what I'm going to show you guys kind of behind the scenes of the uranium market. First of all, we have to understand that the uranium market is mostly a long-term, really old school over-the-counter market where it's really long-term contracts and people are literally shaking hands at conferences and sealing the deal. And we don't really have much access to that. You can pay for, you know, a very expensive service such as, you know, what UXC provides, and then you get a feel for what the contracts are going for. But it's a very how can I not be rude by saying this? It's a very opaque way of looking into the market and not the full story. So the way that they report numbers in the long-term market is by taking samples of the lowest bid, and then that becomes, you know, the contract price for that contract, which to me is completely backwards because we don't know what it actually closed for, and you could really manipulate the market by just bidding low. And so what we have here is then a spot market, which probably represents 10 to 15% of, you know, the real long-term market. And what you end up having is, you know, financial players playing in the spot market because they can. And also you have utility buyers coming and topping up their needs in the spot market. So usually the only people to report that on a daily basis are UXC themselves and the Marco, maybe a couple of other guys. And so what we had here from last time we talked, I think it was the 30th of November. So way back here, we were sitting at $180 per pound of uranium, went up all the way to 107. Now we've pulled back to today's, 92.50 or so. This is a welcome breather, in my opinion. And the truth still remains in the fact that the miners have actually not been overshooting this move, very well. Like I said, back in 2021, November 2021, they hit a high. And then what's happened here for this move, which, was an absolutely massive move. If you take, the 2023 performance of uranium, you're looking at almost a double. And what they've done is they've pierced through resistance from, the old highs, and they've come right back. But if you look at what the price of uranium was doing back in November 2021, you're going to see that it was around, 45 to like 40 to 45 dollars per pound. And so you can see this right here, in this
Huge.
region.
Yeah.
Absolute insanity, because this is where I get really excited. Most people would look at this and say, the market's broken. Like, how can I invest in a mining venture when, it doesn't follow and it doesn't,
because it's correcting the advance. So they think they call that broken. What's CCJ look like? It's best of breed.
Let's take a look. So this is URNM. So this is a basket, and it's pretty heavy on CCJ. But let's take a look here if I can move this.
I see Mao, which you recommended. It was trading around 50 cents, is at 96 with this gold run here.
Yeah, that's it. CCJ. So Cameco has done pretty well, but has really felt the pinch of this price weakness here in the spot market. Bear in mind, Cameco doesn't really play in the spot market very much. They do sometimes come to it, to fulfill and top up their own contracts, which says a lot about the market. And something to take note of is that both Cameco and Kazatomprom are really the big players that can move the market. And both have come out since we last spoke and said, we would like to ramp up, but, and then those buts come with all the difficulties that they have been facing. Kazatomprom, the world's largest producer at 40% of the market, which is insane to me that anybody would hold 40% of the whole market. But they have come out and said, we would love to ramp up production to, 20%, but we're only going to be able to do it at 10%. And even that is questionable. They have been really, really struggling with
what are the buts?
Acid
regulations.
So no, it's mostly for Kazatomprom. They cannot get enough sulfuric acid in order to ramp up production. That's number one. That's what they're saying. But there's also the fact that in order to ramp up production in uranium, specifically with the type of deposits that they have, they're called ISR deposits. And so you're basically, injecting acid into the ground and pumping it. In order for you to get to full production, full capacity, you need to have done your CapEx investments and, invested in more wells 18 months ago. And so they didn't do that enough 18 months ago because they can't source enough acid. Now, one red flag that I see and one serious, indicator that they weren't going to be able to ramp up as expected was when they announced last year that they were actually investing in their own sulfuric acid production. When a miner tries to go into an industry where, it's not mining, outside of exactly out of their wheelhouse, you have to ask yourself, okay, what in the world are they trying to do? Are they trying to capitalize on a new industry, or are they in dire need of something for their own production? And obviously the latter was the answer. And so that, funny enough, with Kazatomprom is what made the excitement of the market. That's what made it go from the 80s and 90s to 107, which was the high. So still very exciting. I'm still very much invested in the uranium trade. I think the equities have a long way to go yet. There are a few interesting companies, such as Denison, for instance. They have.
I remember that one. It
Yeah,
was
Denison
almost
is
like
an old story.
yeah. I mean, they for a long time they were under a
So
buck.
let's see what they're doing right now. But Denison goes way back, and these guys have some really nice projects in the Athabasca Basin, which is super high grade. They also have a really interesting technology that allows them to allegedly produce at a much lower cost. And we always say allegedly in mining because everything that can go wrong will go wrong in mining. But I believe that these guys will be some of the next guys to start producing uranium in this cycle. And they are, I think, just about large enough that they can catch some investment funds. We're looking at a market cap of $1.6 billion. So
What's
there's
the
some
price of the
institutional
stock,
players.
Bobby?
Right now it's 183.
Okay, now is that an impediment for investment funds? Institutions can't buy things under
Absolutely.
5 or under 3.
So it depends on the size of the institution, and what we have right now is different sizes of institutions coming in and sniffing around. One of the reasons why some of these developers haven't done as well as they could have is because Cameco and Kazatomprom are the only plays that are really big enough, liquid enough, let's say, to attract institutional capital. And so when you take a look at Denison, you're taking a look at just under $2 at a market cap of 1.6 billion. Funny enough, 1.6 billion in uranium is actually considered to be quite large. But if we take a look at CCJ, Cameco back here, yeah, it's an $18 billion company and it's trading at $42. So the difference is there, and it shows on the chart as well. You don't see that resistance from 2021 struggling to break out or retesting here. What you see is that because Cameco has been able to attract that investment capital, it has really been the best horse in the race so far. I don't know if they're going to continue to do so. My expectation is that it's going to start trickling down to the developers, especially because one mistake that Cameco did, I don't know if you could call it a mistake, but it's a fact and they can't really run away from it, is whenever we were back in, call it 2014 to 18, it was the depth of the bear market. And so in order to just keep their lights on and survive, they had to sign contracts that were not great. And these were super long contracts that are, taking place right now. They're delivering into them right now. But, at a cost, out of 2023 or 2024 cost, they are not being able to capture as much of the price movement that's happening now, and that's gone.
It's like a bad hedge. It's like they sold
exactly,
and the market went up, and they were hedged at those levels.
And the timing wasn't ideal, and I think that some of the developers that are coming on now, such as Denison, they're going to be able to sign much better deals, better contracts. And now what developers are doing is that they're being a lot smarter, and they have caught up to the idea that yes, the spot price only tells you a part of the story, but it is also more squeezable and smaller because it's more illiquid. And so a lot of them are signing contracts that have floors and ceilings somewhat tied to the spot market, which I think is much smarter.
Simon would like to know, is Denison's operation in Elliott Lake, Ontario, Canada?
I don't know what's happening to Elliott Lake, and I don't know if they're actually moving forward with that region. But no,
They're in the US.
their main Denison's main projects are in the Athabasca Basin in Saskatchewan, Canada.
Oh, okay.
So Elliott Lake, I don't know if that, that's a part of their portfolio or not. I have a feeling that that's not going to be in play for a long time. Ontario is not the best place for uranium mining right now because of regulation. So no, they are an Athabasca, play, very high grade and really decent management team as well.
Great calls on uranium, Fabi.
Thank you. I've been lucky.
No, you do a lot of hard work. So nothing wrong with luck, but hard work pays.
I take a look at smarter people than myself and try to sniff out what's true and what's not, and then I place my bets.
Okay. All right. And who are those people?
Okay. So in the uranium space, I would publicly like to thank Mike Alkin, who's an American. I guess he started out as a hedge fund manager on the short side. He was always a short seller, and he was interested in uranium because of the possibility of a short. Turns out he became a raging bull back in 2018. When a short seller becomes really interested in one specific industry and dives really deep into it, and calls out what the industry forecasters are getting wrong, then I do listen to people like that. Another guy that is amazingly knowledgeable is Justin Hune. He has a service called Uranium Insider, and it's probably the best bang for your buck. For I think $600, you can get like daily uranium news, and the guy he knows exactly what's happening in the market at all times.
I know him. I've interviewed.
He's top notch. He's absolutely top notch, and I don't understand how he can retain so much information in his brain. It's just amazing. So I take a look at what these people are saying, and if I see the beginnings of a good story, which I did way back several years ago, then I start placing my bets. Something else that I really like right now is gold. Can we talk about gold?
Yeah.
Gold is broken out. So we're looking at gold breaking out here at all-time high territory. And something very similar is happening, when we talk about uranium. It's almost like the whole mining industry is very tired and slow, and it lags the real commodity. Maybe the Canadian markets are broken, or maybe people have thrown in their towels, or maybe it's just a lot of like really old investors that have retired already and haven't.
Yeah, we were making new 52-week lows in a lot of the gold and silver miners up until last week, and gold and silver had been on the march. I made a comment that things like Majestic and AG were trading at near 2020 lows, the COVID low, when silver was $12 and silver was 21, and they were at the same levels.
So you're completely right. Whether you take a look at GDX, as a proxy to the gold majors, or GDXJ as the more junior gold plays, then you're going to see the same thing. You're going to see that the price of gold is absolutely flying, and that the stocks haven't really responded just yet. Obviously, you take a look at the last two sessions, you do see a response here, but this is the very beginnings. It hasn't really broken out any sort of resistance, or it hasn't broken out of any sort of channels. It's just this has been, in my short career, the climbing the wall of worry kind of highs. Even being in the industry and talking to people who do invest in gold as their bread and butter, people are not overly excited about this. It's not that they don't believe it. It's just that they're not pouring a lot of money into the miners in general.
Well, they're worn out.
Yeah, Part of it has to do with the fact that if you take a look at the actual producers, you'll see that their margins have been squeezed a lot. And miners have, an issue, which is they are either in a cycle where they're growing their pipeline and trying to grab new projects and probably throwing too much money at building that pipeline and overpaying. And then, when they realize and the market realizes that they've overpaid for those projects, then they have to go back to the drawing board and try to reorganize themselves financially. And so I think that some of that is still happening in the industry, where they're realizing that, a cost of goods sold has been increasing by a lot more than the price. So far, that is up until now. And now price is really starting to catch up. So we might start seeing that some projects do go into the green territory, let's call it like that, very quickly, if this move is at all sustainable. So I'm super excited about gold developers and just gold plays in general. Like I said, Montage Gold, which I kept harping on about. This was where was it? In November, end of November, we were sitting here at around 72 cents, and now it's sitting at 96. This spike really has a lot to do with the fundamental of the companies. I've been screaming that this is this is a buy for so long, and finally people have been listening, not because of me, but because it's a good project. So the Lundin family came in and made a big investment into this project. The Lundin family is probably the most serially successful mining family in the world. And, it goes from grandfather to father to son, and they haven't stopped in the last, I don't know, 100 to 50 years. I don't know what the span is. And they are very well-versed in going into regions of the world where aren't, it's not sexy to go to. It's not Canada or the US or something like that. And they go in and they always make projects work no matter what.
What's the name of the family again?
Lundin family. Yeah. Anybody who's in mining will recognize the Lundin surname. So
Londee.
Lundin.
Okay.
Yeah. And they do have their own companies that carry their own name. So you do have Lundin Gold and others in their group.
Okay. Do you follow there's a thesis that the white metals are actually going to outperform gold. So do you have any companies that you're following in that mine palladium or platinum?
So it's funny you asked that, because I gave a talk in late January mentioning platinum. And the reason why I'm very reluctant to mention any names in platinum is that the reason for platinum to probably start taking off right now, which it seems to be doing, is the same reason as to why you wouldn't want to invest in one of those companies. So the issue with, let's take platinum, because I understand platinum a little bit better than palladium. You have a market that is very, very small, that is completely dominated by South Africa. So 74% of all the platinum in the world comes from South Africa. And the reason why, production has been difficult is because of their energy situation in South Africa, which has been widely reported by just about everybody and their cousin. And then when you go to figure out where you can invest your money, and you take a look at, late stage developers and producers, they're mostly in South Africa. And so it's hard to say whether by making a bet in South African plays, you would be able to profit from it, because these are the same guys who won't be able to ramp up production. So it's something that you could, if you wanted to go physical, believe it or not, you can buy platinum and palladium, through dealers and things like that. But it's going to take me a little bit more homework to find interesting deposits outside of that region in order to be able to say, you know, this is where I'm placing my bets. I'm still looking.
Okay, so you have to be aware of the location where
Yeah.
there could be land grabs or
Yeah.
nationalization. Is that your fear in South Africa?
My fear in South Africa is just that the energy situation there is getting so desperate that they are going to stop producing it, or produce it to a level that, you know, won't make sense financially.
And I believe there was a story in Mexico about them not allowing open pit mining.
That Mexico is complicated, and it's the reason why you can find a lot of cheap projects, both Mexico and Peru right now. Now this goes for all metals, right? Mexico has kind of attacked its own mining industry by rewriting the code to a certain extent and by raising taxes by quite a bit. So it's a double whammy. And what we see is a situation of, is this government going to last long enough for this to be a long-term, you know, blow to the industry? I am not sure about that. But, you know, Peru has kind of, you know, followed in the footsteps of at least being, you know, set aside and being put in the back burner by most investors as, you know, jurisdiction where the risk is too high. One jurisdiction that I think is going to go the opposite direction in South America is Colombia. Now, Colombia has what is nominally a very socialist government, but I don't think that they're going to be able to hold power for much longer. You know, I have, you know, strong connections in Colombia, and that's what they're telling me, that the people of Colombia don't want whoever's in power to remain for very long. Therefore, whatever you see from the government, it just doesn't seem to stick, and companies are producing. So speaking of which, I could probably mention a really interesting company that has started producing just recently, and they have some of the best high-grade gold mining going on right now. But because it's in Colombia, it's very much under the radar. I don't know why it's taking so long to load here, but let's take a look at this. It's called Aris Mining. Aris Mining Corporation. Let's see if I can bring them up here. Huh.
Okay, they are really under the radar.
Yeah. I think they've just put out financials today, if I'm not mistaken. And they are producing now. When you go and take a look at the projects that are currently producing and their pipeline, you're going to see that their average grades are far and above, you know, what
gold.
most small producers.
Yeah.
This is gold. Yeah.
Okay.
This is gold.
I have a question for you. Andrew lives in Bolivia. What is your take on mining there in Bolivia?
I have not heard great things about Bolivia in forever. So okay. I wouldn't put my money towards anything unless there were clear signals from the government that said otherwise, that said, you know, we are now pro-mining. Now, one thing that's interesting that seems to be happening is Ecuador has, you know, taken a blow for being anti-mining, and PDAC, which was the biggest mining event globally, just happened, you know, this week, and the president of the country came out, and they had, you know, their representatives there. When the president of a country goes to a mining event, to me, that's a massive green flag to say, look, we recognize that we need mining within our economy and we want to make it work. So Ecuador, to me, right now looks like a better deal, and, you know, some of their larger projects seem to be getting financings done right now. So between Bolivia and Ecuador, I would take Ecuador right now.
Okay. And wrap it with what's your favorite copper stock?
Okay, copper. Now, I am going to talk about a really small cap company when it comes to copper because it's the one I'm most excited about. There's a company called AUDUSD Metals. Now, they have done really, really well from the end of last year to this year. So let's take a look at the last 3 months. So Abitibi Metals, they were mostly just a gold exploration company. Turns out that the people behind this company, both backers, financial backers, and management team, they come from a very influential family in Ontario, and they were able to negotiate the deal of a lifetime with the government of Quebec. So the government of Quebec, most people don't know this, by the way, holds a few mining projects that they had worked on, and they were, just sitting on it because it's not common that a government in a first world country will actually put something into production. They do some research on the certain things, and at some point they will need outside money in order to advance their projects. This is what happened to these guys, and they were able to get a project which is a high grade copper project in Quebec, and they knew that the project was high grade copper, started to drill it, and have already come out with news of how truly high grade it is, and they're getting better results than what the Quebec government have been able to get so far in the very first holes that they've dug. And so they have 2 to 3 drill rigs going on right now, and they're a fairly small cap. So far, it's looking like I think 22 million. I think this is USD. Yeah, because the market cap currently is a lot higher than that. And what's happening is they're not drilling to figure out if there's any copper there, but they're drilling to figure out how much and how high the grade is. And they're doing super well.
What a great interview, Fabi.
Thank you so much.
And people obviously are not going to have enough of your ideas in 30 minutes. So where can they find you and subscribe?
Okay, so they can go to The Next Big Rush. If you go to the .com, then you can get into my free newsletter, which is basically a what happened in mining today kind of summary. You can also follow me on x.com or former Twitter, and also on YouTube. Everything is The Next Big Rush.
And you are high grade research. How's that?
I'm just lucky, Dale.
All right. Well, I'm not against luck, Fabi, and congratulations.
That's it.
Enjoy the good times, and I'm glad for you. Always root for you, and appreciate you coming in here. And
Thank you.
You give the most detailed information of anyone I interview about the mining sector. So
thank you so much. I love it.
Great.
It's my bread and butter. I've fallen in love with the industry, and I guess one of my missions in life is to get other people as excited as I am, because you can get such great returns if you play your cards right. So thank you for the opportunity.
All right, Fabi Lara, everyone, follow her on X at The Next Big Rush. And I guarantee you there'll be another one, and she finds them. So that's a wrap, Fabi. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dale.
And everyone, you could join the team in 12 minutes on the Morning Edge. Don't just count your nuggets and your uranium and palladium. Don't buy uranium coins, okay? I don't want anyone to get irradiated. So anyway, I'll see everyone tomorrow. Good hunting. Adios.